Jon Snow was originally supposed to kill the Night King on Game of Thrones. Arya Stark killed the Night King in the final season of Game of Thrones during the battle for Winterfell, but according to the cast it wasn't always supposed to go that way. A few days ago, Maisie Williams, an actress who played Arya Stark, revealed that Kit Harington, an actor who plays Jon Snow, told her and everyone else that he was going to go that way. Quoting Kit, "Someone told me in season 3 that I was going to kill the Night King. And this is what should have happened. That would have given us a satisfying conclusion to Jon Snow's story. That would have fulfilled the long-built prophecy of Jon Snow being the prince that was promised. That would have justified Rhaegar and his obsession with prophecies as well. Especially because creating Jon Snow, who Rhaegar believed would be the prince that was promised, it cost Rhaegar his own life, as well as lives of his both wives, Lyanna, who died giving birth to Jon, and Rhaegar's first wife Aelia. The children Rhaegar had with Aelia were also brutally killed. The Mad King died as well, as tens of thousands of soldiers on both sides. All these deaths, the end of the long Targaryen dynasty just because Rhaegar thought Jon had to be created, only for all of it, including Jon's true heritage, not to be important at the end at all. Jon killing the Night King would have justified why Jon Snow was brought back to life. It would have justified all the build up to this epic fight between the Night King and Jon Snow that's been building for years. All of that to be for nothing. Just because the showrunners David Benioff and Dan Weiss decided it would be too obvious for Jon to kill the Night King, which was the original plan, and changed it to be Arya. Don't be fooled by thinking Arya was planned to kill the Night King all along. And don't think it was foreshadowed to happen way back in season 3 when Melisandre made a prophecy to her about shutting the blue eyes among the others, that she would repeat to her in season 8 before she kills the Night King. That Arya Melisandre scene where Melisandre reminds her of the eyes she would shut forever, and how the blue eyes are the only left from the prophecy, well, it wasn't foreshadowing anything. Yes, Arya did kill the Night King who has blue eyes. But at the time Melisandre first made this prophecy to Arya, as I already mentioned, it was back in season 3, in 2013. Do you know when the showrunners decided it would be Arya who kills the Night King? In 2016, after season 8 episode 3, The Battle for Winterfell aired, the showrunners revealed that they made a decision 3 years ago, that it would be Arya to kill the leader of the White Walkers. This was in 2019, which means David Benioff and Dan Weiss decided around 2016, after season 6 was made, that it would be Arya who kills the Night King. This confirms Melisandre's prophecy had nothing to do with the Night King, as this scene took place in 2013, and it was 3 years after this scene that the showrunners switched from Jon to Arya to kill the Night King. Arya's whole story was about vengeance, and her years of training with the Faceless Men were justified when she avenged killing of her family, when she avenged the Red Wedding by using faces to kill Walder Frey. She could have also used those faces to kill Cersei, and once again avenge her family. That was her story, not the White Walkers and not the Night King. They were Jon Snow's story since season 1. Arya killing the Night King makes as much sense as if Jon Snow ended up killing Walder Frey or Cersei, because that simply is not what his story was built up to. When the word of his father Ned Stark's fate reaches the Wall, Jon initially wants to ride south and join Robb in vengeance for his father. But he doesn't because Lord Commander Jorah Mormont convinces him that those wars and the Game of Thrones are not important, because there's only one war that matters and it's against the White Walkers. Arya had nothing to do with the White Walker story. She didn't know they even existed until the very final season, while Jon's whole story on the other hand was about the White Walkers and the Great War that was coming. In season 1 episode 1, Jon Snow is with his father, when a deserter of the Night's Watch is brought before Ned to be executed. That deserter named Will, who ran away after seeing the White Walkers kill his fellow brothers of the Night's Watch, tells them what he saw the White Walkers. Ned executes him because that is the law for abandoning the Night's Watch. So Jon is involved in the whole story since the very beginning. During season 1, he's a man to kill the first White in thousands of years, when the corpse brought back to the Wall becomes white and attacks Lord Commander Mormont. Jon saves Mormont's life by burning a White, earning a pardon for his earlier misdemeanor, as well as Valyrian steel sword Longclaw. In season 2, Jon's story continues to be about the threat beyond the Wall, as they ride north of the Wall seeking for Benjen, and an explanation for the White attack. Jon sees Cresser carrying a newborn into the woods, leaving a child for a White Walker as a sacrifice. In season 3, Jon and the Free Folk arrive at the Fist of the First Men, only to survey the bloody aftermath of the assault on the Night's Watch by the White Walkers and their army of Whites. In season 4, Jon takes a little break from the White Walker story due to the threat of the Wildlings, but he's still very much aware that they are out there, advising Stannis to burn the bodies of the dead Wildlings in order to prevent them from returning as Whites. In Season 5, the White Walker story gets him killed. Jon makes a hard choice and does what he believes is the best, and that's rescuing the free folk from Hardhome and allowing them to pass the wall and settle in the north, to keep them from falling into the hands of the coming White Walker army, as he knows that if they stay out there they would be killed, then resurrected and added to the ever-growing army of the undead. While doing so, Hardhome is attacked by the Night King's army, and Jon fights the White Walker and kills him with Longclaw. The Night King watches at Jon intensely with interest from a distance. The Night King and Jon share a long glance with each other, as the Night King uses his magic to raise all of the dead as whites before Jon's eyes. Still, Jon saved some of the free folk from dying and joining the White Walker army, and allowed them to go south of the wall, which got him killed. In Season 6, Jon is resurrected by Melisandre and the Lord of Light, because he still has a role to play in the Great War. In the aftermath of his victory at Winterfell and the confirmation from the Citadel that winter has come, Jon Snow warns the gathered lords of the North and the Vale, who wish to return home, that the war is not over, alluding at the coming of the Night King. In Season 7, Jon prepares the North for the upcoming Great War against the White Walkers. Upon receiving two letters, one an invitation from Tyrion to come and meet Dany at Dragonstone, and the second from Sam informing him of his discovery of Dragonglass on Dragonstone, Jon decides to go to Dragonstone, risk his life because that's the only chance for the North to win this war. Jon leads a mission to capture a White and prove to Cersei that the threat is real, in hopes to put a stop on fighting among the living, and get the support of the Lannister army as well. Jon fights a White Walker again, kills a bunch of Whites, and once again shares a glance with the Night King. Not once but 2 times. As you can see, the White Walkers were the core of Jon's story. They were his purpose and his destiny. And few days ago it's confirmed that Jon Snow was originally supposed to be the one to kill the Night King. As it's revealed, Kit said they told him in Season 3 it would be his character Jon Snow killing the Night King, which makes complete sense. The Night King's actor was changed because they planned to have the Night King vs Jon Snow epic fight where Jon Snow prevails, hence why they switched from an actual actor playing the Night King to one of the world's best swordsmen and 33 years experienced stuntman. All of this build-up for years and years was destroyed when in 2016, after the release of Season 6, the showrunners came to a conclusion they left way too many clues of Jon being the one to kill the Night King, and instead of giving us a satisfying conclusion to Jon's story and have him kill the Night King, the showrunners changed it to Arya, and went for a shock value instead. Their explanation on why they decided for it to be Arya who kills the Night King, instead of Jon, whose entire story from Season 1 up until Season 8 was building for this great showdown between him and the Night King, which was supposed to fulfill his destiny, wrap up his story perfectly. Benioff said we hope to kind of avoid the expected, and Jon Snow has always been the hero, the one who's been the savior, but it just did not seem right to us for this moment. Jon was literally made for this moment. Well, it's Arya's first time seeing White Walkers and Whites and the Night King. You cannot make all that build up and throw it away just because you want to avoid the expected. Good writing should be more valued than the shock value. I'm going to leave the last words to none other than George R. R. Martin, who perfectly explained why changing the story plot just because people expect it's not a good choice, as it takes away the satisfaction of the build-up, makes all the planted clues and foreshadows a dead end, and ultimately ruins everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.